Hey, how you doing? My name is Ryan, and today I'm designing and printing custom minifigures based on some of the surprise cameos from Deadpool and Wolverine. And that means this is your spoiler warning for the film. If you haven't seen it yet and you want to go in blind, you can watch my first custom Deadpool video instead, which only pulls information from the trailers. So, 3, 2, and 1. If you're still here, our first custom minifigure is Elektra, played once again by Jennifer Garner. The layout looks deceptively simple, starting first with her low-cut vest and black trim. Next, I'll continue dividing the torso in half to show the layering of fabric with these curved lines and shadows. Moving on to the belt, which looks lopsided, split, and accented with a silver buckle and strap. So far, so good. But how about the straps across Elektra's chest? Well, this is where the challenge begins, as I need these to be thin enough to fit 2 over the V-neck, but not too thin as to be illegible when printed. By increasing the size of the V-neck, I can give myself more room for the straps. Same situation goes for her shoulder pad. There's 3 layers, each with an outline, shadow, and highlight. But fitting all 3 requires each pad to be too small, so I'll tackle that problem area in a little bit because I also need to focus on getting the overall color correct on the torso. Elektra's costume is a purplish red, but the closest available piece to print on is plain old dark red. So by adding these swaths of purple as an accent, I might be able to fool the eye into seeing that as the more prominent color. Okay, back to the shoulder pad, and I have an idea. I can pull from lessons learned in previous videos and bend the levels of screen accuracy to make a far better minifigure. If I only had 2 layers instead of 3, each pad could take up more room and have a better chance of legibility on the final print. By tweaking the shapes and spacing given this less cluttered design, I think every element is much more pronounced and clear, and this torso design is done for now. For the other pieces, I'll pull the hair from Peggy Carter, the face from Rey in Star Wars, the legs of Ginny Weasley, and the arms of the March Harriet from the LEGO Batman Movie Series 1 CMF. I think my digital render of Elektra looks really solid and rather unique. A lot of the custom Elektras I see online are based more so on her comic look than her movie look. Well, to be clear, all the characters in The Void wear an updated version of their costumes from their original movies, so I don't really have a lot of reference to pull from, just a few screen grabs and social media posts that Sean Levy, Hugh Jackman, and Ryan Reynolds have made. But how about our next character, Blade? Played again, and at this rate played only, by actor Wesley Snipes. First, I'm tracing the reference image for 1/2 of the chest armor plate, then tweaking it on my torso to account for any perspective shift. Once I'm happy, I'll copy, paste, and flip, leaving a gap in between them for accuracy. After adding the light gray emblem in the center, I'll move down to block out the shapes on the lower half of the torso. Most of these geometric shapes need to have some separation from each other in order for them to read as armor plating, so I'm trying different shades of black and gray to see if that works. To finish off the layout, I'll add 2 buckles near the top in light gray and the belt near the bottom in dark red. The belt also gets a light gray emblem like the chest and some decorative lines around it. Now it's time to add the shading and details. I'll start first with the belt, giving each accent line a black shadow and outline to make it pop against the red. Then the shape just below the chest piece will get a dark red accent line, almost like a colored highlight. With a few more inner outlines and shadows on the armor plating, Blade's torso is done. And if I wanted to make life easy and cheaper, I could just use the official Blade head found in the Daily Bugle set, but I don't think this playful and youthful face reads all that much like Wesley Snipes in Deadpool and Wolverine, so let's make a custom head too. Using this photo as reference, I'll trace the outline of half his sunglasses, copy, paste, and flip, as well as add these slanted white rectangles for shiny highlights. For Blade's mouth, it's stern and neutral, teetering on a frown once the line is rounded off. Next, I'll add the mustache, which is a similar looking black round arch, and the white goatee, which took a few too many tries to get the shape just right. The secret was to use this official minifigure beard for reference, and tweak the shape, color, and proportions to match my custom Blade head. Add some slanted eyebrows and some pronounced cheek lines, and you get a pretty close resemblance to Wesley Snipes as Blade. For the hairpiece, I'll pull from this older mad scientist figure, and the legs will use Iron Skull. This render I'm immensely happy with, but I'm always cautious when doing a custom head because you never know if proportions get messed up during the printing process, the face might end up too wide or too scrunched and look off. But that's a worry for another day. Next up on my list to design is Gambit, played by Channing Tatum. Now, I already made a custom Gambit figure for SC Dude 1999's X-Men 97 mock, but Gambit's costume in live action looks very different from his costume in animation. Still, I'm going to use my original design as a template rather than draw the whole thing from scratch. For the revised torso, my focus is primarily on the costume underneath the jacket. First, I'm removing all of the detail lines and changing the pink chest plate to light purple. And I'm changing the belt to silver. So far, all simple fixes. But the neck piece I'm drawing from scratch. It's a bit more angular than the cartoon and darker in color. Then I'm adding a large silver collar, the middle torso line, and the new accent patterning on the neck piece. These curved arches should fill out the design for the purple armor, but the color needs some work. The real costume has almost a blue-purple gradient to it when the light hits it, but LEGO doesn't really do gradients, so perhaps if I make a slightly different color for each section, I can make the illusion of a color shift. It takes some time to get right, but the effect is really cool looking. And while my last Gambit utilized a pre-existing piece for a blue boot print, I want to make custom legs with an extended trench coat pattern. The coattails are pretty simple shapes with a dark brown accent line at the bottom, but I can improve the bottom trim with some added folds and ruffles. I'll use Nick Fury and Tina Goldstein as examples of how to make these details look good. Top the legs off with a silver boot and the art is done. For the hair, I'm using Commissioner Gordon from the LEGO Batman movie, and the head I'll reuse the Scout Trooper balaclava head, as it looks so good. For Gambit, I'm a little bit concerned about the possible color mismatch between the dark brown torso and the dark brown printed on the black legs. I do hope it looks as good as it does in the render, because the color mismatch could really mess up this figure. But what about X-23? Played once again by Daphne Keane. Using Owen Grady from Jurassic World as reference, I'll mock out the main parts of the open jacket, or at least half of it. After adding some pockets and the collar, then I'll copy, paste, and flip. But in order to make these two halves different, I'll add a zipper to the left side as a nice accent. With a neckline and some stitching, it's time to move on to the shirt. And I'm working off of so few reference photos, so I can only make out the basic shapes and colors of the design on the t-shirt. However, this might become a benefit, forcing me to simplify the logo with the hopes it'll read better when small. And with the belt top off the design, the torso is done. Now, I went back and forth for a bit whether or not I wanted to have a backpack on this character, but because I'm using long hair, I won't be able to include a backpack piece for the figure, so I decided to forego the backpack straps on the torso design. What I do need to add though is a custom face, as there are several angry female faces and several faces with pink sunglasses, but no angry female faces with pink sunglasses. So it's kind of a composite of pre-existing designs for this head, tracing the sunglasses, eyebrows, angry face, and placing them all together to make a clean minifigure face for X-23. For the other pieces, I'm using this black hair from the Centaur figure from Harry Potter, the arms from Ethan Hunt, and mid-sized legs in light bluish gray. This render I'm really happy with, and for the first time, I'm not all that concerned about losing detail when the design is shrunk down for a minifigure torso, because I already did the work in removing so many details from the torso because I didn't know what details were there given the blurry photos. But how about our last character in the Void Resistance team, and we're still all grieving about him, Johnny Storm, played once again by Chris Evans. This is a rather simple spandex suit in dark blue with this bold, black, angular accent lines running down the front and this belt with a silver buckle. Moving up to the Fantastic Four logo, something I've designed before in the past. So, white circle, dark blue and black outlines, 3 lines to make the 4 itself, black inner circle. But this time I think I'll make the logo blue a bit lighter to make it pop more against the dark blue backdrop. I'll also add some white and light blue highlights to the main accent lines instead of a shadow to make them stand out too. And finally, plopping in some abs and pecs from a previous figure to give Chris Evans some realistic muscles. For the other parts, I'm using the hair from the Winter Soldier from the Marvel CMF Series 1, the new Indiana Jones head, and these dark blue legs with a black boot print, which according to Bricklink, primarily exists as a pick-a-brick piece. And while this render does look quite nice, I am concerned about this figure for a whole different reason. Copyright. You see, a lot of custom printing sites will prohibit you from printing any logos, whether you own them or not, and the Fantastic Four logo on this torso is pretty pronounced. Now, I have printed Fantastic Four figures in the past, but those logos were so small and kind of stylized that it could be misconstrued as just a 4 and not the Fantastic Four. So I do hope I can get this design through printing without having to change the logo on it all that much. Worst case, you could just use water decals and apply it to a dark blue torso. Either way, the renders for my team of cameos are done, and they look rather nice together. Now, this is usually where I'd wait about a week or so for the custom parts to arrive and I'd build the characters, but I'm trying a brand new review process for the first time ever. I reached out to a very critical artist by the username of LoadedOP, and he's going to give me feedback on my digital mock-ups before I send them to the printers. Hopefully this improves my design and saves me money. So, LoadedOP, what do you think?
Hi there.
What the f?
Oh, I heard Ryan was making some incredible figures. I am extremely critical regarding merchandise made about my team and the Void. And if you want to make the best figures in the game, you have to impress the guy who was there. Or really just a nasally impersonator who can get the attention of the far more important / famous Ryan. Hello, Reynolds.
Okay, Deadpool has a point here. Yes, I am a lesser known Ryan, but also, sometimes, getting feedback from a fan can be just as important as getting feedback from an artist. Sometimes when I'm designing, I get so lost in the details of line weight and shadowing and color that I miss the forest for the trees and lose sight of the overall character design. So let's see what Deadpool thinks and find out if I did these recognizable characters justice.
First up, Blade. Wow. Looks as beautiful and young as he did in the Void. Custom head and torso. To be honest, I'm impressed. Next up, Elektra. You know, they say divorce can ruin the look, but you, my friend, look just as good as you did before Bullseye assaulted you. I love the suit, and here the torso is custom. Gambit. You're all welcome, by the way, for bringing him back. Custom torso and legs, this man looks amazing. I mean, Channing Tatum is always a delight. Especially in Magic Mike. Don't tell Blade. Johnny. Poor Johnny. Last I heard, he's still resting and healing. The custom torso looks great, by the way, my friend. Can't wait to see it on you, along with the rest of your skin. And my personal favorite, X-23, custom head and torso. The glasses made everyone in the room cry, including God. That little dash of happiness and anger needs her very own little movie too, or some extremely gratuitous cameos and therapy commercials. Now Ryan, I am leaving with a smile, stage 4 cancer, and hope that the Lego figurines pertaining to my kin are well taken care of. Maximum effort.
Looks like he enjoyed my custom minifigure renders and thinks the designs are true to the character. Awesome. That means I can go in and make some tweaks to the line weight and shading without having to worry about missing the forest for the trees. Once that's done, I'll remove the background color and prep for printing. So it's been about a week, all of my parts have arrived in the mail, so moment of truth time. What do these custom cameo minifigures look like? We'll start off first with Blade, and this is a rather clean looking minifigure if you ask me. I think the proportions on the face ended up working rather well, although I think there is too much of a white line around his cheek lines, which could definitely be a printing artifact. As for the torso though, that looks really clean. I love the amount of color contrast between the red accents and the black armor, and the little bits of shading I added across the entire torso I think work really well. And the flow from the torso to the legs is also quite nice, leaving for a very holistic looking Blade minifigure. And while I already received feedback on my figures from Deadpool, I wanted to get comments on my final designs from an actual artist, so I reached out to the Scrapbox. Andrew is an incredibly talented graphic designer and probably the best at making custom 3D Lego parts across all of YouTube. Seriously, give his channel a watch and a sub, he totally deserves it. So what does he think of my Blade minifigure?
Hey there, friend. I heard you got some figures for me to look at. Let me just get my glasses. Who do we have here? Blade. There he is. The only Blade there ever was. The head and the hair are outstanding and the face design is iconic. There's no mistaking that that's Mr. Snipes. I was thrown a bit when I saw the torso and read it as the Red Skull Iron Man for a second because of the contrast of the centerpiece. It might be possible to break up the design a bit to flush it out or lighten the armor around him to reduce the effect, but overall it still very much reads as the Daywalker himself. Incredible job.
I love his feedback on the chest armor, and he's right. By tweaking the color of the upper chest and adding that little inner shadow on the center logo, I can give the overall torso a more layered, three-dimensional look. With Andrew's notes implemented, this Blade torso already looks about 10% better. That's the power of good feedback. But how about our next figure, Elektra? This might be one of the best torsos I've ever made. All the line work looks so clean, the amount of detail is nice and not overwhelming, all the elements have their place on the torso, the arms look great, the leg printing flows well from the torso. If I had one gripe, it'd be that I think the hairpiece I chose covered up the shoulder pad armor too much on the torso, to the point that I almost feel like I may have wasted too much time perfecting that shoulder pad if it was going to be covered up to begin with, but a different hairpiece would have solved that problem, so I'm glad I at least took the time to make that shoulder pad look good. But let's hear what Andrew thinks of this Elektra figure.
All right, who's next? Elektra? Okay, let me just get my glasses. Wow, that's good. That's really good. The line work on the torso for the fabric and the subtle color variation is so smooth. This is like CMF level line work. This would kick CMF Spider-Man's butt. It's outstanding. Those legs mesh so well with the rest of the fit. Great job incorporating actual Lego pieces into the design. My only question about the figure is the printing on the arms. I'm not 100% sure they read as her armbands, but when you look at that confident Jennifer Gardner face, you don't ask questions. You just say, "Yes, ma'am." Excellent work.
Well dang, it sounds like he's just as happy about the torso design as I am. This really might be one of my cleanest and best custom minifigures I've ever made. Awesome. But how about our next figure, Gambit? There is a lot to take in here. On the positive side, the color match between the torso and legs is perfect. That brown is spot on. The gradient from the purple to blue on the chest armor is also really nice. The boot print I think pops very well, but on the negative side, I think the dark brown is a bit too dark of a color. I probably should have gone with medium brown or reddish brown for a cleaner look. And while the dark blue collar piece is barely light enough to read as dark blue, I lose all the white accent marks that I put inside of that. Overall, I'm very happy with how this design turned out, but I'm not so happy with the head. So I'll use Ethan Hunt's head, the alternate side from Mission Impossible, and paint the black balaclava around the face print. Now I think this custom figure looks so much cleaner, and I think the facial expression makes this figure look so much closer to Channing Tatum's Gambit. But what does Andrew from the scrap box think?
Mr. Remy LeBeau's up next. Let me just get my oh, never mind. He's perfect. His cowl is done so well, and I love how serious he is. And that gradient of purples for his torso is impeccable. I love his coat and his staff, and it's just too good. Too good. So good that I've been mandated to tell you about his fatal flaw, his missing piece. A playing card. Man, that's a good figure.
Yep, great call. This figure needs a playing card, and while I don't have that Ace of Spades from the CMF series, perhaps I might make a custom playing card 2x1 print, maybe on a translucent purple tile, but that's for another video. How about our next figure, Johnny Storm? Thankfully, it looks like I was able to skirt my main concern of copyright, as this 4 looks very close to my original design, and the overall figure I think reads rather well. The black accent lines on the torso are able to pop because of the white highlight I added on them, and the belt buckle and Fantastic Four logo have plenty of color contrast too. Although, if I'm being honest, the muscle lines don't really stand out all that much. As much as Chris Evans works for his physique, I think the muscle definition needs to either be a lot bolder or just not included on the figure. I don't think it needs it, to be honest. As for the face and legs, I think they look really nice. The amount of stubble is correct, and the black boot print I think looks very clean. It's kind of cool to think that I've now designed 2 different versions of the Fantastic Four suit, and it might just be recency bias, but I think I prefer this one. Either way, I'm very curious to hear what Andrew thinks of this Johnny Storm.
What's up next? Let me just get my glasses. Okay. Johnny Storm. Wait, hold on. They're the same picture. This Johnny Storm is fantastic. You've given him that confident smile that tells you he meant what he said. He's got the perfect amount of stubble and a crisp uniform. I love the use of the available dual molded boots. If I had to be picky, I'd say that the muscle definition lines are a bit thin and therefore get lost in the deep blues of his eyes. I mean his suit. Honestly, it's so much better than the Johnny I was gonna make.
Sounds like he agrees with me on the muscle lines being not so visible on the torso, and I think I just might do away with them, as LEGO really doesn't seem to add muscle lines and muscle definition on figures that have darker print designs. But how about our last character, X-23? So this one I'm a bit mixed on. I think the jacket and shirt print turned out really nice. The face design I think is correct. I think the proportions though are a little bit off. The face just feels a bit too big, and I don't know if that's because I designed it too big or it was just printed too big. It's not a huge problem per se, but it kind of gives off an uncanny valley effect with the full figure. I even tried replacing the head with a different official LEGO female angry face, and yeah, it does make a big difference. The oversized sunglasses and mouth, even though they're just 10% too big, gives off a really strange vibe. But what does Andrew think of my design?
Last one, X-23. I just put on my glasses. Okay.
A hard one, I see. Okay.
The hair? Great. Facial expression? Terrifying? Perfect. Sunglasses? Seem a bit squished, but I'm not sure if that's just the angle. Good color though. The vest is spectacular, but the body itself feels too gray? At first I thought it might be because she has short sleeves in the film, but LEGO doesn't have any gray short sleeves, so that's LEGO's issue, not yours. The logo on her shirt is supposed to be a large white bird. That might have been able to give it the color it needs.
Or regular blue pants. Turns out she's an adult of average height.
Overall, you've designed one fierce character. You best be watching your ankles.
Oh, it's an eagle! This is one of the downsides of trying to design the figures too quickly, in that the time between when I finished my design, ordered the pieces, and they arrived in the mail, much more high quality images came out of X-23 in the movie, clearly showing what her shirt is supposed to be. So I'll be definitely sure to add that eagle design to my final version of my Adobe Illustrator file. And also, good point about the figure being too gray overall. I'll try replacing her legs with the mid-sized ones in light blue from Will Breyer in Stranger Things. And with that small change, I think we have an amazing crop of cameo minifigures from Deadpool and Wolverine. Big thanks to Andrew from the Scrapbox for giving his precise artistic feedback. I think they made a big difference in the final designs of these figures.
Thanks so much for having me. Your figures were great. You were great. Wait, I don't even wear glasses. Okay, bye.
If you like anything I've designed today, you can access these and all of my custom designs at the link in the description box below. Enter the password heyhey and you'll get access to everything, my Adobe Illustrator files, PNGs, all for free, and you can print your own custom blade minifigure at minifigs.me, also linked in the description box down below. And as always, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.